On May 16th, 2167, demons took over everywhere. There was nothing left except burning cities and destroyed buildings, and these huge monsters had just stomped the world to pieces. In the middle of all that mess, our main guy, Si Chen, was still standing. The poor guy was all bloody and beat up, barely able to breathe, just staring at the ruins. He was the last hope for humans, but man, that sure didn't look like hope. But all this hell started 7 years earlier, when the Demon Kings just popped into the world, no warning, and began wrecking everything. The worst of them was Demon King Lan Yu. He was the demon's boss and crushed humans like bugs. When our MC finally had to fight this devil, the Demon King just laughed at him. He said people called Si Chen the last hope, but he thought humans were weak, pathetic, and totally useless. Then he told our protagonist it was time to do his only job left. But that wasn't all, bro. The Demon King said he was going to eat our protagonist, literally. He wanted to gobble him up and get even stronger. Our poor guy was not having any of that. He said there was no way he was ending like this, especially while the demonic energy started burning him up from the inside. Right when things looked hopeless, all the faces of the people Si Chen lost came rushing back. His sister, his friends, and his old teacher. Demons had ripped away every one of them, and that pain just made him madder. He decided that if he was going out, he was taking the king with him. With all his rage, our hero swore that he would drag this devil straight to hell. He pulled out his ultimate move, something called Final Arc Light. Bro, that thing was insane. The energy exploded everywhere, so bright and wild that even the Demon King freaked out. He couldn't even move, just got blasted in the face with the explosion. As our protagonist's body started to vanish in that light, his mind replayed all his memories, starting with his little sister, then his teacher, and his parents. He felt calm, thinking he'd see them again soon, but deep down, he still had regret. He wished he'd been just a little bit stronger. Maybe then he could have saved them. Even as he faded away, he could still hear the Demon King running his mouth, saying humans would always be weak and evil. But our MC's last thought was different. He wished he could go back in time, find the demon's lair before it all began, and stop the first king. Maybe then he wouldn't have lost everything. Then, bam! Everything went white. Next thing Si Chen knew, his eyes snapped open in total darkness. He was lying on a bed, not dead, but alive. His hands were bandaged, and the sunlight was coming in through the window. The poor guy got out of bed, shocked and totally confused. He checked out his hands and wondered how the hell he was still alive. He looked around, not sure where he was. He finally realized that he was in the campus hospital, and noticed students walking around. Now he was even more confused. The world he just died in was destroyed, but here he was, seeing normal people everywhere. He just couldn't wrap his head around it. After thinking it over, our MC started to accept the truth. Somehow, he really was alive, and not just alive, he was back in the past. He realized he was back in his college days, 10 years before everything went to hell. Suddenly, he felt something weird, like a glitch in the air, and this game-like system message popped up in front of his eyes. It said the power of gluttony was now integrated, basically telling him that all this was real. He checked his phone and saw the date, May 16th, 2157, same day, but 10 years before the world ended. That's when Si Chen realized fate had given him another shot. It was 3 years before the Demon Kings would start their invasion. He remembered that Wrath, the first Demon King, would show up in 2160, open the gates of hell, and let all the other Demon Kings pour in. That was when everything got wrecked the first time. But now, since he had come back to this point, he thought that maybe, just maybe, he could stop Wrath and change everything. With a whole new sense of hope, our MC felt pumped. This was his chance to stop the apocalypse before it even started. The red light in his eyes glowed as the system finished adding the gluttony power. He was curious about what this weird floating interface was all about. It showed strange numbers and stats, like in a video game, level 1, and all his basic stats set at 100. He wondered if these numbers were real. This totally threw him off. Before, he just fought with his own awakened power. Nothing like this weird system. But the system explained that there were all kinds of awakened classes in this world. Star Mage, Core Warrior, Cloud Chanter, Flower Chanter, and Lightning Assassin. Only 1 in 10,000 people could even become awakened. Our protagonist remembered that his college, National Awakened University, was a place full of people with awakened potential. But he also remembered how, in the old timeline, he never managed to awaken. He spent 4 years as a total nobody, a walking disaster, always getting beaten up by everyone. Maybe that was why he woke up in this school clinic now. Then, there was this weird flash, and suddenly a bunch of digital files started floating in front of him like he was inside a video game. He stared hard at one of the files until it popped open. It was for the Lightning Assassin class, which was totally stacked. This class had skills like God of Lightning, which could make the user move 10 times faster, and Lightning Blade, which let attacks hit harder and even paralyze enemies. Our MC thought about how crazy a lightning-type assassin would be and started to wonder if this was exactly the class he used in his last life. That hit him hard. Was this the same power he once had? He could feel energy pulsing inside him more than ever before, and he started to think he might really have awakened early this time. The poor guy was curious to try this one, so when the system let him switch classes, he did it. Instantly, a huge wave of power exploded inside him. Dude was buzzing with energy. Suddenly, a voice snapped him back to reality. It was Ma Long, his friend from college. He was there in front of him, looking super confused. This guy had the Flower Chanter class, which was definitely not as cool as lightning powers. But hey, he was still an awakened. His buddy came over fast and asked if Si Chen was okay after waking up, saying he'd been knocked out. Our boy said he was fine now. He also realized that nobody else could see his weird floating game interface. It was just for him. Ma Long was super shocked because Si Chen's injuries from yesterday had totally disappeared, and he joked that our protagonist had healed even faster than most awakened people. He wondered out loud if his friend was some kind of freak, especially after that beatdown he took. Our hero thought about his friend for a second. This dude was his old roommate. His past life, Ma Long awakened in college, but ended up being one of the weakest ever, dying pathetically just days after the Demon King showed up. That memory stung. His pal still couldn't believe it and kept staring at our boy, saying he looked way stronger. Our MC, standing there in the sunset, could finally accept it. There was no doubt. He really had traveled back in time. Ma Long got a little more serious and told Si Chen they needed to get ready for the rank test tomorrow. He said it was super important, since it would decide their graduation results, and insisted they start preparing now, even if our boy had never awakened before. Si Chen looked around at all the students playing sports and hanging out under the calm sunset. He realized it had been forever since he'd seen this many people alive, so he mumbled that to himself. His friend heard him and was super confused. He asked what kind of weird thing our boy was talking about. Seeing how distracted his buddy looked, Ma Long suggested they walk around the track for a bit. So, both dudes started walking, but our main guy was deep in thought. He remembered how in his last life he lost everything literally, and as he watched all the peaceful college life around him, he knew the truth. If he just sat back and did nothing, the world would get wrecked all over again. That was the kind of nightmare he couldn't let happen. Right then, he made up his mind. He had to get stronger as soon as possible. But it wasn't that simple. In this world, if you wanted to level up, you had to kill monsters inside demon lairs. The problem was that all those lairs were locked down by the giant guilds, so solo guys like our MC barely got a chance to grow at all. Man, talk about unfair. He checked out his status screen again, curious about how strong he really was compared to everyone else. The system explained that the government used ranks from S, the best, to E, the worst, to rate awakened and monsters. Most college students were stuck at rank E, and only a few superstars or rich guild kids made it to D. Our boy, having already lived this life once, figured he could guess his own rank, and he was pretty sure he was way stronger than Ma Long. Right then, out of nowhere, a basketball smacked this poor guy right in the face, sending him crashing to the ground. Oof, that had to hurt. A bunch of students in the stands started laughing, and one huge guy, a total meathead, called out with a snarky comment about how fast they recovered. Ma Long saw the guy and got so scared that he whispered that running into this dude was just bad luck. Then he turned to Ma Long and started giving him attitude, acting like this dude forgot his job as a servant and should have brought drinks since he was playing basketball. Ma Long instantly apologized, was super scared, and promised to buy drinks right away. But Si Chen was not letting that slide. He stopped his friend and told him he wasn't the problem. Those bullies were the ones who needed to apologize. The main bully's face triggered some nasty memories for our boy. He remembered how, in his last life, this same jerk and his gang had held his head underwater while Ma Long screamed for them to stop. The bully joked that he was helping, saying Si Chen needed some motivation to awaken his powers, then laughed like a total psycho. They only left after getting bored, and our MC blacked out. Back in the present, his pal rushed to him like before and asked if he was okay. Our boy, still hurting inside, wondered why the hell these guys could never just leave them alone. Then he realized something important. True evil wasn't just in the demon lairs, it was here, in everyday life too. One of the goons noticed Si Chen muttering and asked if he had said something, but the main bully just grinned, his eyes full of trouble. He decided it was time for some more fun at our boy's expense. So, first off, our hero stood his ground and told the bully straight up that his buddy wasn't the one who needed to say sorry. It was actually the bullies who should apologize. He said it louder this time, staring Gong Cheng right in the face with zero fear. Now, the big bully with his lame E-rank flower warrior skills just turned around with this angry, shocked look and asked what Si Chen had just said. Meanwhile, poor Ma Long was freaking out, whispering to our protagonist and asking what the hell he was doing. This punk walked over, all confident, his fists glowing with this weird green energy. Our hero remembered that this bully only acted tough because his older brother was the student council president. Honestly, this meathead wasn't even that strong himself, but the guy loved to pick on weaker kids. Other students started to crowd around, whispering that this bastard was about to beat up the two weakest awakened in school, one who had just gotten his powers and the other who hadn't even awakened yet. Bro, everyone thought our boy and his friend were a total joke. But Gong Cheng didn't care about the crowd. He just stepped up to Si Chen and repeated his question, getting all up in his face and acting like he was about to explode. Our protagonist stayed super calm and told him not to mess with them anymore. He just looked at him, cool as hell, while this rascal got even more pissed. This jerk started shouting that Si Chen needed another beating to learn his lesson, then threw a punch. Well, dude, Si Chen just blocked that punch like it was nothing. Seriously, he parried it so casually that even this punk was shocked and stumbled back. The whole crowd went dead silent. Some kid in the back wondered out loud if he was seeing things, because everyone knew our hero hadn't awakened yet. This bastard was losing it, screaming at our MC, calling him weak and unawakened, and demanding to know how he dared to fight back. But this was exactly what our protagonist wanted. He grinned, thinking it was time to see what his new powers could really do. He switched his class right there, and the system told him he'd become a lightning assassin at level 1. A cool little card flashed in front of him, showing off powers like lightning flash and electrical blade. Suddenly, yellow lightning started sparking all over his body. His friend totally freaked out and asked our MC how the hell he had awakened. But this meathead wasn't done yet. He released his immortal demon armor skill and yelled that our boy must have forgotten how painful his punches were. He charged in with his big armored fist, shouting like a crazy person, but our hero just dodged at lightning speed. Then he hit him with a punch right in the face, hard enough to send blood flying, and this poor jerk crashed to the ground. Everyone lost it. Even his buddy stood there with his mouth hanging open, asking how our protagonist just knocked out this rascal that easily. Gong Cheng tried to get up, cursing Si Chen and yelling at his friends to help him out. But man, those dudes were frozen in fear, and nobody moved. Our MC just stood there, surrounded by this wild, scary energy, and nobody wanted to mess with him. This bastard, all mad and embarrassed, charged again, shouting that he was going to kill Si Chen. Our boy didn't even break a sweat. He blocked the attack, grabbed this rascal's armored arm, and snapped it. Ouch! With glowing eyes, our hero told him, super calm, that he was way too weak. Then he just unloaded on this jerk with a bunch of brutal punches. The last hit literally sent this poor meathead flying into the stands, smacking straight into a wall and knocking him out cold. After that, Ma Long was just staring at his friend in total shock, thinking he had no idea when Si Chen got this insane power. Our protagonist looked down at his own bloody hand and started thinking about how much stronger he was now. He checked his stats and realized a couple of things. First, he could switch into electrical assassin mode whenever he wanted, just like in his old life. Second, even though he was only level 1, his normal form was already stronger than that of other beginners. He figured he was definitely above rank E, but he still wasn't sure exactly where he stood. But then our protagonist noticed something weird. Even after beating up this jerk, his level and stats didn't change at all. They still said, level 1, everything at 100. He wondered why the system didn't give him any experience. So, he walked over to where this punk was lying on the ground, looking like a total mess. His friend and the other students tried to stop him, worried he was going to finish the guy off for good. Si Chen pointed his lightning blade at this bastard, making the bully freak out and shake with fear. He was thinking to himself, trying to remember if the way to get stronger was the same as before. But, right before our boy could test it, a girl stepped in and interrupted him. She reminded him that they were still on school grounds and told him to chill out. This was Ling Yu, the vice president of the student council. She had this sly smile and said that our MC had punished this rascal enough, even though this bastard started it. She promised that this jerk wouldn't dare mess with them again. Our hero glanced at this meathead and thought it was kind of weird how the student council always jumped in to protect guys like him. He told them he wasn't actually planning to hurt this rascal anymore, but he also warned that, if bullies like him didn't get a serious scare, they'd just keep coming back. He gave everyone this scary look that made Gong Cheng's friends freak out even more. They all swore they'd never pick on him again, and honestly, everyone was wondering if this was the same RMC they used to know. So, while Si Chen and his buddy left, everyone behind them was whispering like mad. People could not believe that the two weakest, poorest guys in the whole place suddenly had this insane power. Bro, nobody saw that coming. Even Ling Yu saw those two leave. She was amazed how the weakest loser could beat that punk, like they were too cool to hang around. Back in the dorm room, Ma Long was basically losing his mind, running around trying to convince his roommates. Our MC had awakened and turned into some kind of super electrical assassin. He would not shut up about how our protagonist destroyed Gong Cheng and made the bullies so scared they could not even look at them anymore. The dude was so hyped, he almost started posing like he was fighting. But one roommate, Xiang Zuo, who called himself an E-rank flame mage, was not buying any of it. He just asked Ma Long where Si Chen was. If he was so strong now, then this guy started roasting Glasses Boy, saying that if our protagonist was this big shot awakened, why would he need to go running or do basic training? He said the whole story made zero sense, like Ma Long's brain got knocked out of his head or something. Their other roommate, Xiang Yu, who was an E-rank flower chanter, joked that Ma Long's head must have taken too many hits. Annoying guy just tried to calm this poor dude down, but kept his smug attitude. Then Xiang Zuo got all proud and reminded everyone that the only reason all four of them were stuck in the same dorm was that they were literally the four lowest ranked students in the whole year. He said that was a fact, and nobody could change it. Apparently, this dude was fourth from the bottom, which made him the king of the losers. He pointed out that Ma Long and his twin were just support types, and you could only awaken one class in life anyway. He was super full of himself, bragging that he was the only one with a real combat class in the room, and that was just the way things were. But Xiang Zuo didn't believe Ma Long's wild story about our MC being an electrical assassin. He thought Si Chen was way too weak to be anything special. Plus, he started bragging that he was getting stronger and thinking about joining a club soon. Meanwhile, this twin was staring at his computer and reminded everyone that the big rank test before graduation was tomorrow. He said everything would be clear then. No more arguing. But let's check in somewhere else for a second. Near some E-rank demon lair, the student council president, Gong Ting, walked out with this crazy, powerful vibe, covered in blood from a brutal training session. All the trainees bowed to him like he was a king. Then, outside, his little bro Gong Cheng was waiting, with his whole face and body wrapped up in bandages. Dude looked like a mummy. His little bro was super mad and whining that he would not be able to sleep until he got revenge, complaining about how our boy humiliated him and even disrespected his big-shot brother, the president. His brother just stayed cold as ice and told Gong Cheng he understood, promising he would handle it himself. Yikes. Bad news for our MC. Later, at some fancy dinner, Ling Yu asked Gong Ting what he was planning to do about the whole mess, pointing out that his brother got totally owned. This guy started doubting if our hero was even as strong as this punk claimed. She reminded him that he already knew everyone's rank and powers at school, and there were fewer than 10 people who had made it to rank D, plus, he already got all of them in his club. She said most people had zero chance to get stronger, since normal awakened ones could not reach the demon lairs, and only people like this dude had the opportunities. This girl was super confident and said nobody could catch up with him. Meanwhile, our boy was out there running in the rain with 100 kilograms weights on his body, pushing himself for 20 kilometers like a total beast. He figured out that basic training still made his body stronger, and if he wanted max power as an awakened, he needed to have a super strong body to handle all that energy. But he knew this training was nothing compared to what he needed. Si Chen's mind drifted back to the dark future, where Demon King Wrath came down to Earth and wiped out almost everyone in one hit, including our MC's sister. Bro, that was the moment when all the Demon Kings started pouring into the human world. No wonder he was so serious. He swore to himself that in this new life, his first goal would be to kill Wrath. That monster was the start of all the hell to come, and our boy only had 3 years to get strong enough before Wrath showed up. He knew Wrath would grow stronger fast, so he had to move even faster. Right then, our protagonist's phone buzzed. He looked at it and saw his sister, Si Yun, was calling. Our hero's hands were shaking a little as he picked up, and her voice came through so bright and cheerful, scolding him for calling so much. She explained that her phone was off because she was at a competition and said that if she won, they might finally fix their rent troubles. Hearing her alive and happy almost broke Si Chen because he remembered how he lost her before. His sister noticed he was being weird and asked if he was okay and why he was so quiet. He just smiled and answered that it was nothing, even though he was actually holding back tears. He told her, kind of awkwardly, that it had been a really long time since he heard her voice. She just laughed and told him they spoke 2 days ago, then promised to visit him after her competition and said he should wait for her good news. After she hung up, our MC stood there in the rain, feeling like life was really giving him another shot. Right away, our hero hit the training even harder, swearing he would get stronger as fast as possible and protect everything this time. After 8 hours back in this new era, he made it to the dorm, and the guys were already asleep. He went to shower, thinking how his body was still weaker and younger, but he was starting to get used to it. That's when he realized his biggest problem. To level up, he needed to enter demon lairs. But those places were totally locked down by rich kids and powerful guilds, so normal people like him had no chance. He wondered how he was ever going to fight monsters at all. Then, he remembered something. The power of gluttony he got from the system. He started thinking hard about what that really meant. While our boy was sleeping, something insane started happening inside his head. A mysterious system began to load up like a computer game. Before he knew it, the gluttony system finished downloading, and suddenly, Si Chen dropped into some totally weird space. He landed hard on the ground, which was bloody red, and found himself standing in a creepy wasteland under a red sky. Right in front of him was this giant, evil-looking tower. Bro, our MC was totally confused. He was just about to sleep, and now this? He looked around, trying to figure out if he was dreaming, but everything felt real. All over the place, he saw giant monster skeletons that looked a lot like huge dogs. But these were not just regular dogs, they were monsters called Grava Hounds. And Si Chen remembered that these things were E-rank baddies from something called the Cloud Warrior class. Before he could think more, those monster skeletons started getting up, turning into real threats. Our MC realized, oh great, he was about to fight monsters now. He guessed maybe he had landed inside some kind of demon lair, so he didn't waste any time. He activated his lightning assassin transformation right away. As soon as he finished, this cool card popped up in front of him, showing off all his crazy new powers, like being able to run 10 times faster than normal. Not bad, right? The Death Dogs didn't care about his card, though. They jumped at him with full force. But honestly, these monsters were way too weak for our MC now. Si Chen zipped around with lightning speed and just wiped them out, one by one. Every time he killed one, he picked up something called Grava Hound Fangs, and he got 3 of them on each kill. He noticed he was getting experience points too, plus 52 for each monster. For our boy, fighting these E-rank dogs was just a warm-up. After he finished the last monster, a message told him he leveled up to 2, and all his stats went up by 5 points, except for strength and speed, which doubled up. Now he was starting to get it. He could actually level up in this place. He started laughing inside because he realized he'd hit the jackpot. A private demonic lair, all for himself, where he could grind monsters and get stronger without anybody stopping him. Si Chen wanted to test his limits now, so he went straight for the boss monster of the area. The boss didn't play around. IT slashed at our hero with some mean attacks. They fought hard, but he came out on top, defeating the monster. That gave him another huge boost. He hit level 3, grabbed 18 Gravehound Fangs, and scored a super rare Gravehound Crystal. He noticed the boss gave him way more experience than the regular monsters, and he'd leveled up super fast. After the boss died, our boy noticed something weird above its body. A word glowing that said, devourable. He had no idea what that meant, but since he had the gluttony power, he figured he should try something. So he reached out his hand, and suddenly, red energy swirled around him and sucked up the whole corpse. When it was done, the monster had turned into a special card with all its details, like Frost Physique, which made him immune to cold. This was next-level stuff. Si Chen realized he could eat his enemies after killing them and turn them into new classes for himself. Bro, that was the same insane power the Demon King Lan Yu used against him in his past life. That power was supposed to belong to the Demon Kings, but somehow, our boy had stolen it. Normally, Everyone only got one class for life, but now our MC had both Electrical Assassin and Cloud Warrior at the same time. That was totally broken. He figured he could eat more monsters and collect an endless amount of classes. Still, he kept wondering where this tower came from and why he got this power. Suddenly, a huge pressure smashed down on him from the top of the tower, and our protagonist felt real fear. Then, out of nowhere, a scary voice welcomed him, saying it had waited a long time just for him. A super powerful guy in a black robe, holding two giant purple swords, floated down. This boss called Si Chen by name. Bad news, bro. Si Chen remembered how the government ranked monsters and awakened people from E all the way up to S. Getting to S rank almost killed him in his old life. Right now, he was maybe D rank at best, and this boss in front of him was clearly S rank. The power gap was as huge as a mountain. Our protagonist's stats didn't even count for anything here. He started freaking out, wondering what kind of hell-level demon lair had an S-rank boss at the end, and how the guy even knew his name. They started fighting for real, and Si Chen gave it everything he had. But the boss was on another level. He could have killed our boy anytime he wanted, but instead just kept knocking him down over and over, like he was playing with his food. The boss's eyes glowed, and he started mocking him, asking if he was really still trying to fight. Our poor MC wiped blood off his face and realized the boss was trying to break his spirit, wanting him to just give up. The boss then made him an offer. He wanted Si Chen to stay here and help guard the tower together. He called it a special opportunity, but honestly, it sounded like garbage. Our boy was not about to spend his life in this nightmare, so he refused flat out. Out of nowhere, the boss cut him with his sword, and our hero started bleeding. The boss got annoyed and said, "Did Si Chen really think he would not kill him?" He explained that he had only spared our MC this long because nobody else could make it this far. Then it got even weirder. Purple energy started rising from the ground, absorbing energy from dead monsters around. The boss's whole body was wrapped in this scary power, and he gave Si Chen one last chance: stay or get completely destroyed. But our boy was not about to back down. He chose to fight, saying he would kill the boss instead. The boss just laughed, calling our hero ridiculous. So, he charged in with lightning speed, ready for the final showdown. As he got ready, he remembered something important. The boss always took 0.4 seconds to prepare each attack. By watching the angle of the boss's wrist, he could predict where the next strike would go and dodge it. Even better, the boss always had a 0.2-second gap after each move where he was wide open. Si Chen planned to use that tiny window to hit back and maybe, just maybe, win against this monster. Our protagonist was right in the middle of a seriously insane fight. He went all in, launching his electrical blade attack straight for the boss's heart when he saw even the tiniest chance. Now, in normal terms, a D-rank hero like him had no business messing with an S-rank monster, but he was hoping the attack would at least paralyze the guy for a few seconds. Not surprisingly, the boss was way faster than Si Chen expected, so he barely had time to react. With no other option, the poor guy kicked on his Godspeed skill, making himself 10 times faster and used those precious seconds to run like hell. While he was blitzing away, Si Chen spotted a bright light out on the horizon and figured that had to be the exit. He put everything into his speed, dashed straight for it, and just when he thought he was about to make it out, bam, the light vanished. The boss showed up right behind him, totally unfazed, and told him that the exit he saw was just a fake left there on purpose. Basically, there was no way out, and to make things worse, this wasn't even a regular demon lair. Bro, our hero had been running in circles inside a trap. The boss actually seemed impressed, saying it was pretty cool that Si Chen figured out his weaknesses so quickly. Then the guy took off his creepy mask, showing his true face, Raksha of Purgatory, S-rank astral warrior. He told him that he really was someone who could bring hope. Our MC was shook, because he'd seen this exact form before, on Demon King Lan Yu, back in his last life. He remembered how Lan Yu could switch between crazy, powerful forms, like some kind of monster costume party, and one of them looked just like this fiend. That got Si Chen thinking, had Lan Yu eaten Raksha using the same gluttony power our hero now had? And if so, did that mean this whole weird place was actually inside his own body? Our boy was losing his mind at this point. This demon praised Si Chen for being tough and smart, saying he was worthy of everything in this place. Our hero could barely believe it, asking what this monster meant by everything. Suddenly, a shiny key popped up in Raksha's hand, the SSS rank Void Key. which was the only way to open the gates of the massive demon tower. This demon explained that the demon lord had eaten a ton of powerful demons, and the worst of them were all locked up inside this tower. His advice? Our protagonist should eat them too, using them as fuel to get even stronger. So, with the void key in his hand, our boy asked why this monster was willing to help him out like this. This fiend told him that even among the demons, there were good guys and bad guys. The demon kings had wiped out his whole family just because they could. He'd been waiting forever for revenge, and now Si Chen was his shot. He said that some guy, whoever that was, had been right, and our hero really was the only hope left. Hearing that, Si Chen was confused and asked who this man was. But this fiend just pointed at the tower, telling him that all the answers he wanted were inside, and he had to go find them himself. Now, Raksha's body started glowing with this wild sky blue energy. He offered his power to our MC, telling him to use it and make their enemies pay. Si Chen could not believe what he was hearing, and wondered if he was really supposed to take this monster's power. But this demon got hyped, shouting at him to become unstoppable, open the tower, and eat everything inside. He warned that the demons in there would be much tougher than him, smart, brutal, and ready to kill. Si Chen had to survive, crush them all, and stand on top of the world, eating every demon king he found. With his body disappearing, this demon said, only a determined guy like Si Chen deserved this gift. Suddenly, he felt this massive rush of energy flood into his hand, a real power-up. A victory screen popped up, showing that he'd jumped up to level 10 and picked up Raksha's sword, Fiendish Netherbone. He stared into the empty space, saying he understood what had to be done, and that he'd carry this fiend's will from now on. The devouring finished, and a special Abyssal Fiend card showed up, listing new moves like Mass Skeletal Void and Triple Calamity. Si Chen swore to himself that he'd make everyone pay for what had happened. Then, just like that, our hero woke up to a loud crash in his dorm room. His roommates were rushing around, yelling at each other to get their uniforms on before they were late. The poor guy sat up, wondering if he was actually back in the dorms. He checked himself and saw his wounds were totally gone, which made him question whether the whole thing was just some wild dream. But when he pulled up his status screen, he saw it was all real, level 10, and all the loot he'd scored in the dream was still with him. Basically, our MC had just power leveled overnight, and he started wondering what his new rank would even be. Before he could think too much, one of his roommates, Xiangzuo, called out his name. This dude was not shy. He said someone, and yeah, he meant Ma Long, was running his mouth about our protagonist becoming super strong. Xiangzuo got all competitive, asking if our boy was really planning to challenge him for the dorm's strongest guy title, and told him to come to the rank test to prove it. He explained that even though their dorm looked like a group of E-rank nobodies, each rank had 3 sublevels, and while the rest of them were low E, he was mid-E, which was supposed to mean he could crush 10 of them at once. He marched out, thinking maybe his rank had even gone up since the last test. Ma Long, always hyped, ran over and told Si Chen to go for rank D and scare Xiangzuo silly. Our boy just grinned to himself at that. The squad hit the test arena, and the place was buzzing. Everyone was fired up and getting ready. Xiangzuo noticed this meathead's goons pushing people around, so he told the group to steer clear, to avoid any drama. But then, the goons spotted our protagonist. This dude instantly panicked, thinking they were about to get beaten up. The bullies, though, looked at our protagonist like they'd seen a ghost, then suddenly bowed way down and started calling him boss, as if he were a total legend. Bro, Xiangzuo, had no idea what was going on and started thinking maybe the rumors were actually true this time. This glasses boy just smiled as he knew all along, while our MC ignored the whole circus and kept walking like a boss. Then, right on cue, Qiangdi from the student council showed up, calling out Si Chen's name. He said he'd heard about the little incident with Gong Cheng yesterday and asked if our MC knew who this rascal even was. Turns out, he's the little brother of the big boss, Lord Gong Ting. The students in the crowd whispered that this scumbag was the president's favorite dog and a tough D rank. Everyone got nervous, thinking this punk was about to start trouble. He got up close, smirking, and said he could always smell the strong ones from a mile away, but right now, all he smelled from our hero was the stink of a dude who'd never get out of the loser zone. Ouch! This guy really knew how to start drama. Si Chen just stared at him and asked if he was a dog or something. The look on Qiangdi's face? Priceless. He freaked out, shouting at our MC like he wanted to hit him on the face. But someone stopped it. It was Gong Ting. the council president himself. He said that Gong Cheng is the one to blame, since he attacked first. Qiang Di, who was all tough a second ago, bowed his head and called Gong Ting president. What a switch. Our protagonist just walked past this jerk without even looking at him, still calm and carrying that red glow in his eyes. This dude stared after him, looking pretty interested. Suddenly, a voice rang out through the arena. The announcer told everyone to get ready. The rank assessments were about to start. The instructor said they'd call students one by one, and everyone needed to go to the workstation when it was their turn. Then he called his annoying lackey to get ready. It was almost time for the rank tests. Up on the top floor of a building, Ling Yu and a mysterious man watched the assessment. He asked her if there was anyone who caught her attention. She said this year's assessment will be pretty interesting. Little did they know, bro. 1 hour later, the instructor was standing in front of the screen again, calling out the next student. It was Xiang Zuo, one of Si Chen's roommates. He got all hyped, saying he wanted to see how strong he was. The dude stepped into this glowing chamber, and his hand lit up with teal energy. The instructor explained that each student had to blast all their power at this special orb called the magical core, and the machine would show how strong they were. Xiang Zuo hit the core with a blast of red energy, and the orb started pulsing like crazy. After a few moments, his results popped up. E rank, mid-tier. The crowd was watching, waiting for the rest, because there was one more thing. The system checked the students' potential. That's the highest rank they could maybe reach one day. This boy's potential came up as C rank. He was pretty disappointed, and his roommates tried to cheer him up. Ma Long said that he and Zhang, you will be even worse than him. Then the results for both of them came up. E rank, low tier, but also C rank potential. This dude nearly lost his mind. His roommates tried to cheer him up, saying there aren't even that many D rank students at schools. But boom, they freaked out. Suddenly, a student got promoted to D rank, low tier, with B rank potential. The crowd was impressed, since that was the first D rank promotion of the day. Later, that scumbag, Qiang Di, got D rank, high tier, with A rank potential. Everyone was buzzing about how many D rank students were popping up this year. Apparently, in a normal year, only 2 or 3 got that rank, but now there were already 8. People started saying this year's tests were going to be wild. Then, the big moment came. Gong Ting's turn. People got super excited. This guy had a crazy reputation, and someone said rumors claimed he got D rank 2 years ago. Most students never even reached D rank mid-tier, so everyone was dying to see what he could do. Inside the assessment chamber, he was thinking to himself that he needed to save his full real power for graduation. Nonetheless, he'd still be number 1 today. After a while, the results flashed up. D rank, high tier, with S rank potential. Everybody freaked out. It was the first time in school history that anyone had S rank potential. The crowd went wild, yelling and cheering for their president. Some students were so hyped that they lost their minds. Even the grown-up officials were excited, saying Gong Ting was now a national treasure and would get crazy attention from the government. Plus, he was already in the Imperial Guild. This guy was a star. Ling Yu and a mysterious man, Yuan Long, the headmaster, chatted on the high platform, both impressed by the S-rank candidate. Yuan Long guessed that Ling Yu came just to see Gong Ting's results, but Ling Yu said she was more interested in someone else. She glanced down, eyes sharp. And then, the instructor announced the next student, Si Chen. Finally, it's our hero's turn to step forward. So, first, Qiang Di, yeah, that jerk again, started barking at our MC in front of everyone. The guy was all up in his face, calling him a loser and mocking his low-ranked dorm members. He even said that if our hero pulled another weak E-rank result, he'd make his life hell. Dude, this scumbag deserves a beating. He looked down on our hero and his friends, saying the whole dorm was a disgrace to the school. But Ma Long shouted back, he believes our MC will get a better result. Then, our hero enters the test chamber, and his roommate is still worried about him. Inside, he walked closer to the core, his eyes glowing red, ready to release his true power. Now, everyone in this world wants to join a top guild, and the only way in is to shine at the graduation combat exam. That's where all the strongest teams get picked, and the best squad even gets scooped up by the Imperial Guild. Dream come true, right? Usually, strong guys like Gong Ting get all the attention, pulling together their MVP teams, while everyone else just hopes they don't end up in the weak squad and get roasted out of the school. His buddy was wondering how long it had been since our protagonist last showed up. Some time has passed, the screen is still empty, and nothing comes out. Everybody just laughs at it, thinking our protagonist is probably too weak to even register a rank. For a while, nothing happened. Qiangdi was getting impatient, bugging Gongting about going out to karaoke later. They were already planning their victory laps. Suddenly, the screen started going nuts, lights flashing, numbers jittering. Then, boom, D rank, high tier. The crowd lost its minds. People were screaming, saying they knew our MC had it in him. Xiang Zuo and Xiang, you were totally shocked, while Ma Long just about burst into happy tears. But Si Chen wasn't done. Inside his mind, he saw his new system, level 10, all stats at 150. He figured he could switch classes and maybe even get a different result. So, he changed it up and tried his Gravahound King power. The machine freaked out again. And this time he scored C rank, mid-tier. The crowd exploded. Nobody could believe it. This student council president and his lackey were totally speechless, thinking something had to be broken. Even the teachers are freaking out too, asking how the rank could change like that. Even the system itself was like, bro, something's wrong, please try again. Back in the test chamber, the core is beating very fast. Our MC does the class change again. Now he chooses the Abyssal Fiend power, releasing enormous purple energy around him. The core freaking out, almost exploded, and this time the whole arena was blasted with this insane purple and pink energy. The power was so huge that it created a massive storm in the sky. People were actually scared, calling it a divine phenomenon. The E-ranked trio looked like they were about to pass out, saying this day would go down in history and that their dorm just made a monster. Then came the big one, the potential reading. The screen tried to show an S for potential, but just glitched out, then crashed with a system error. The teachers freaked out, and Gongting just stood there stunned. The system overload exceeded the maximum rank value, and it is almost SSS ranked. The instructor dropped his jaw, and boom, the testing machine exploded in a giant flash, totally broken. The teachers were freaking out, yelling that the assessment was ruined and to check on our boy. The magical core was toast, blackened and broken. But our hero just stood there with his eyes still glowing red, thinking maybe he pushed the thing too hard. But, hey, at least something good came out of it. His gluttony power actually devoured the magical core, and he got a new ability called Delicate Magical Core. Now, he could scan and see everyone's ranks with just a look. Then, he got out of there. He gave it a try, and suddenly he could see hexagons over everyone's heads. E-rank low tier here, E-rank mid-tier there. Even Gongting, who everyone thought was a big deal, just showed up as a C-rank high tier in our MC's new vision. The dude is hiding his true strength all along, but still, C-rank is pretty average. Meanwhile, the teachers were down at the broken magical core, saying this kind of destructive rank had never happened before, and that the whole assessment had to be called off. They decided our boy's results might be corrupted and will report this to the superiors, and everyone who has not yet been assessed will return tomorrow for the new facility. But the other students only cared that they had just seen a genius being born. Some were calling our protagonist a world-shaking talent and arguing he'd be famous for sure. Not everyone was happy though. Qiangdi totally lost it, yelling at our boy for messing up the magical core and ruining the assessment. He denies all our boy's results. Bro, talk about a sore loser. Si Chen was about ready to snap. He thought to himself that, if this guy didn't shut up, maybe he should just get rid of him for real. But before our boy could do anything, Gongting stepped in between them. Gongting told Qiangdi to chill out and said he shouldn't be rude to his new teammates. That surprised our hero team. This council boy reached out to our MC, smiling, and said he should join his squad for the graduation combat exam. He said with our protagonist, they'd totally break every record in history. Si Chen just stares at him right in the eyes, showing disinterest. Everyone who saw was shocked, but this scumbag doesn't like it at all. He thought what makes him special doesn't make sense. He tried to act friendly, hold our boy's shoulder while restraining his anger. But then, wham, our MC just slapped Guangdi so hard that the poor guy stumbled. Not even kidding, that scumbag super. Shocked. It was brutal, dude. He looked at him and said he wasn't interested. Cold. Gongting just stared at our protagonist, frozen in silence, while his underling yelled at our boy. Then Si Chen turned away, eyes glowing that scary red, and told them they were too loud and not to bother him again. He just walked off, leaving this guy and the whole squad behind. Man, that was savage. People started whispering all over the place. Students couldn't believe what they saw. Some said Si Chen really rejected Gongting, and others thought he must have insane confidence to do that to the student council president. One thing was clear, our hero was done playing nice. While our boy was walking away, this dude smiled sarcastically. It's not a big problem at all. Off to the side, the headmaster and Ling Yu were chatting. He said it was a shame that our protagonist and the president didn't team up, but she was just pumped that this just made things way more interesting. She even agreed that the drama level had just gone through the roof. Meanwhile, Gong Ting was not having a good day. He stared at our MC very sharply while his jerk subordinate yapped that our boy just got the spotlight because of a malfunction. But his boss thought, what if the system was right? He wouldn't let anyone else take first place from him. Kwang Di started babbling, saying that rejecting Gong Ting was basically a declaration of war. He wondered out loud if maybe he should go teach our boy a lesson. But Gong Ting just looked at him and asked if he really seemed like that petty of a guy. That shut Kwang Di up real fast. Gong Ting ended up walking away, saying he wasn't in the mood for karaoke anymore, and told everyone to just take the day off. Guess he needed to cool down before he did something he'd regret. But Kwang Di wasn't letting it go. He grinned to himself, all villain mode, and basically said that whatever his underling did from now on was none of his business. This bastard just stared, then he smiled creepily. This guy is absolutely up to something. A little later, a white-hair student, one of Chiang Di's lackeys, was talking about our MC. He told this bastard that our hero wasn't at school, probably going home, that he'd already left without even eating lunch. That makes this scumbag look really shady and ready for trouble. He was happy that Si Chen left campus, because off campus, well, anything goes. Not a great sign for our protagonist, but hey, our boy's tougher than he looks. So, what was our hero doing? He was strutting down a city street, looking like a man with a mission. He started thinking back to his past life, about this one time when a top guild tried to raid a monster dungeon in the Holy Land, but things went south, big time. The boss monster, called Wrath, just wrecked everyone, wiped out the whole team, and then opened the gates to the demon world. That was how things started to go downhill in his old timeline. Now, Si Chen was determined to find the exact location of that monster dungeon before anyone else, but for his plan, he needed cash, a lot of it. So, he headed to the Mithril Guild's Monster Exchange, which was basically the best spot in town for buying and selling monster loot and powerful gear. This place was all about turning rare monster drops into serious money or sick equipment. Inside, Si Chen walked straight up to the counter and dropped a handful of Gravehound fangs. The manager, a guy with glasses, was confused and asked where a student like him got those. Our hero just said a monster dropped them, like it was no big deal. Miss Lee, the lady working there, took one look and explained that these were Gravehound fangs, high-tier E-rank monster drops. She said they could be turned into an E-rank cloud staff, or maybe even something D-rank if you worked hard enough. The manager was interested but tried to play it cool, saying the exchange usually only dealt with D-rank and above, and mostly with big shots. Honestly, he was kind of annoying, acting like our protagonist was wasting his time. Si Chen thought to himself how unlucky he was to run into someone like this, but he didn't bother arguing. The manager just told his subordinates to finish up the deal and left to do something else. This woman gave our boy his receipt, a full 18,000 cash, enough to cover rent for now. All polite and professional, she asked if there was anything else she could help with. That's when he whipped out his next big move. He asked if they could check out something else for him, then pulled out a glowing purple greatsword that looked like it came from another world. The shopwoman was stunned, eyes wide. She was sure this precious equipment was at least B or A rank, and the manager turned right back around when he saw the sword. He said he'd never seen anything like it, but he was sure it was A rank. He started freaking out a little, saying A rank weapons go for $1 million and are super rare in the market. But then, a new guy walked in, Qing Zi, the head of the entire Mithril Guild. This dude was all calm and confident. He said that item definitely isn't A or B rank. Then the eyeglasses guy said, that's right because it was brought there by a mere student. Then, he took one look at the sword and said it was actually S rank, and that it came from the Abyssal Lands. Miss Lee and the manager went pale and started freaking out, not believing to saw a super rare S item right in front of them. This cyan-haired man, meanwhile, was all smiles, shook Si Chen's hand, and told him to use the exchange however he wanted, anything he needed, just ask. Our hero looked at him, his red eyes glowing, and thought to himself that Qingzhu had finally shown up in person. That's where things left off, with the manager and this lady worker still bowing, Qingzhu being super friendly, and our MC holding all the cards. Looks like the tables have turned, big time. Then, Si Chen was chilling in this super fancy room, sitting across from Qingji, the big boss of the guild. Between them, the crazy powerful, glowing purple greatsword was just lying there like it owned the place. This leader asked how much our hero wanted to mortgage this beast of a weapon for. Our protagonist, eyes glowing that signature red, didn't even flinch. He said he wanted 1 million. That's it. Bro. Qiangzhu looked like he was about to fall off his couch. He basically blurted out if our hero was serious. Because just A-rank gear goes for several million? That S-rank sword? At least tens of millions. He said people would go nuts fighting over a weapon like that in the market. Our boy just smirked, cool as ever, and said he wanted to leave the S-rank weapon as collateral for a 1 to million loan, and he'd pay everything back in just 1 month. Qingji started thinking hard, like he was solving a puzzle. He wondered how a mere student could think something like this. Was our hero a runaway rich kid or a prodigy hiding his true power? Either way, this guy decided, our MC was definitely not your average dude. Si Chen leaned in and promised to pay back the 1 million quickly, plus 10% interest the next month if needed. This big boss told his assistant, Xiao Li, to step out, and then he laid out the whole thing. He guessed that our boy went to National Awakener University and that the big graduation exam was coming up next month. First place, prize money, exactly 1 million. Qiangji grinned and said the timing matched up perfectly, so our protagonist must be sure he could win. He pointed out that Si Chen could have just waited, but since he was desperate enough to use an S-rank sword for a loan, something big was up. But instead of being a jerk, Qiangzhu stood up, beaming, and said he'd give our boy 1.5 million cash right now, no interest for the first month. He even said this was the start of their friendship. Big boss style, dude. Our hero looked at him, wide-eyed, and shook his hand. This man promised to keep everything secret and said that if he ever needed help or wanted to sell or buy stuff, the Mithril Exchange would always be his top choice. Our MC was like, yeah, you'll be the first pick. He was good at that. While they shook hands, he was thinking about how Qingzhu figured out everything so fast. This guy was smart and didn't try to take advantage of him, but instead offered to work together long-term. No wonder the Mithril Exchange was going to rule the world someday. Our boy knew if he wanted to kill Wrath and save the world, he'd need strong allies, not just his own strength. So, he agreed, and as the magic contract glowed over his hand, the money hit his account. He checked his phone and saw that sweet fat number. Dude was grinning. Qingji offered to recommend some gear since Si Chen used the legendary weapon as collateral. Maybe he wants to use high-ranked items from the guild for the graduation exam. But our MC just pulled out another glowing purple greatsword, exactly like the one he just mortgaged. This guy and Miss Li nearly lost their minds. Their jaws were on the floor, and they were basically bowing down to him as he left. This cyan-haired man was just relieved his assistant didn't let a VIP like our boy slip away. Smart move, bro. Our protagonist walked out of the guild, looking all thoughtful. He remembered he still needed to buy something. After leaving there, he got out of the taxi. He showed up at the long-distance bus terminal in Kangcheng County, blending in with the crowd. He looked out at the city, thinking back to his rough days. Flashback time, Si Chen remembered his last life, scraping by with his sister, Si Yun. Back then, they barely had any cash. He took odd jobs just to pay rent, and their account balance was always a joke. His little sister even turned down her dream art school, afraid it would put more pressure on him. That hit our MC hard, man. Flash forward. Si Chen snapped back to the present. It was getting late, and he thought her little sister, the one he calls Yunny, should be here any minute. Then, boom, he spotted her coming with a yellow suitcase. She started scolding him for not going to the exit, but the entrance if he was coming to pick her up, and reminded him that they were broke this month, so he better not spend on anything stupid. Classic little sister energy. But our hero just stood there, eyes wide, and whispered that it had been 7 years since he'd seen her. His heart probably felt like it was about to burst. Yuni called out for help with her luggage, then teased him for standing around like an idiot. Our boy rushed over and hugged her so tight she freaked out, asking if he was trying to crush her or something. She said he'd only been gone a couple of days. So, what was wrong with him? She even thought that a girl or something rejected him. Then she told him to hurry up and get moving. So they started walking home together, with our MC carrying her backpack, while she talked a mile a minute about her crazy bus ride. He watched her, smiling softly and red-eyed, and thought to himself that this time, he wouldn't let her suffer again. For real, bro? But of course, somewhere else in the city, trouble was waiting. Qiangdi. Yeah, that jerk. was hiding in a dark alley with a bunch of thugs. He told the guys to hide and get ready to jump our hero the second he showed up. His eyes looked full of anger. He swore he'd show our hero what really happened to people who crossed him. So, in the dark alley, Changdi, this dude who really thought he was all that, was hanging out with his 3 goons. 2 of these guys had masks on, trying to look tough or maybe hide their faces. One of the masked thugs was acting a little nervous. He started saying that since a bunch of them were actually student council members, maybe they should chill out, because things could get out of hand. Honestly, not a bad point. These guys were idiots, but at least one of them was thinking. But the leader wasn't having it though. He puffed on his cigarette and just looked super pissed off. He said he only wanted to teach someone a small lesson, because there's someone with such a bad attitude that makes him get extra angry. He called this other dude trash, E-rank trash, like he couldn't believe someone so low would dare act strong. Yeah, this leader gang definitely had issues. He remembered that the target he had the day before told him that he was too loud and to stop bothering him. So, Changdi will make sure their target wouldn't even be able to graduate in 2 weeks once he is finished with him. These guys were honestly all talking bad news. Right after that, he started showing off his glowing knife, bragging that he was one of the best cloud assassins in the whole school. He was cursing and ranting, really trying to sound scary. The guy had a D rank, and he wanted everyone to know. Then, out on the city street, things switched up. Yuni and her brother, Si Chen, were walking together. She was looking at her brother, obviously worried. She told him he'd been acting weird for a couple of days, and she wondered if he was stressed about the graduation exam. She teased him, saying he was usually too simple to be so emotional, but she also told him to keep himself together, reminding him that he was always the one with advice. She even tried to sing a little, making things lighter. Seeing his sister's response, our boy realized she had noticed something was wrong with him the moment they met. What she doesn't know is that he has awakened, so she probably thinks they're still strapped for cash. But, to answer her question, he said he was okay. Hearing that, Yoni started thinking to herself that her brother was probably just being stubborn because of his male pride. She remembered something from a book, saying that men start building emotional walls as they get older. Man, she had no idea what was coming. What the 2 of them didn't know was that Changdi and his crew were hiding in a dark alley right next to where they were walking. One of the thugs noticed Si Chen wasn't alone. He pointed out that the guy they were after had a girl with him. The leader's face lit up with a nasty smile. He thought this was perfect. No cameras in this alley. So he told his guys it was their lucky day. The guy was straight up evil, bro. But then, our MC's eyes started glowing red. He could sense danger, and he realized right away who was waiting for him. It was those same student council troublemakers. He pulled out one of his earbuds and told his sister that he'd been really into this song lately, playing it on repeat. He put the earbud in her ear, and she looked surprised, asking him since when he listened to music. She just closed her eyes, started smiling, and enjoyed the song. She didn't suspect anything from her brother, who suddenly gave her earbuds. She innocently thought music might reveal a person's mental state, so she'd listen seriously to get to know him better. Meanwhile, our MC got serious, grabbing his backpack strap and looking super focused. The student council thugs finally came out of the shadows, with Changdi and his 3 henchmen looking ready for a fight. Yuni was totally clueless, just vibing to the music. While the song played in her head, Si Chen put himself between his sister and the thugs, ready to protect her. He started thinking about his past life, saying that in the year 2160, he lost the last person in his family. But by 2167, he got reborn and managed to come back. This was the first time in 7 years he got to see his sister again. And now these idiots were trying to ruin his moment. Our boy was not about to let that happen. Suddenly, yellow lightning flashed all over his body. Without waiting any longer, he blasted forward at insane speed, smashing right into one of the charging thugs. It was brutal, a bloody mess, and that thug's arm snapped hard. The poor guy had no idea what hit him. Another thug barely got a chance to react before our boy sent him flying, totally knocked out. The song's lyrics kept running through his sister's mind while he kept fighting, his fist glowing with more power. One of the thugs screamed as Si Chen hit him with a lightning punch, breaking his arm so badly. That looked seriously painful, bro. Another thug just stared in horror, freaking out. He started wondering what the hell was going on and how Si Chen could be so strong. Clearly, these thugs were in way over their heads. Meanwhile, Changdi was sweating bullets, totally freaked. He tried to hype himself up, telling himself and everyone else that he was the strongest cloud-type assassin around. He started screaming at our boy, cursing him, and saying he could still win. But Si Chen wasn't bothered at all. His eyes glowed red, lightning shooting all around him, as he got ready to attack again. In the next instant, he went full beast mode, a yellow blur smashing through another thug, blood flying everywhere. He hit him so hard he just soared down the alley, totally out cold. He grabbed a knife from one of the downed thugs, just in case. By the end, every thug was on the ground, broken and groaning. The alley was a disaster, with blood everywhere, and the bad guys totally wrecked. In front of the leader troublemakers, our hero stood tall, looking like an absolute legend. He told them he thought he'd been clear, never to mess with him again. He demanded to know what part the guy didn't understand, and honestly, it looked like nobody in that alley was going to mess with him ever again. On the ground, one thug was just groaning, saying his ribs were all broken, while another was complaining that he couldn't feel his legs. That second thug suddenly realized, in his head, that there was no way Si Chen was only E rank. Meanwhile, Chang Di started apologizing, totally freaked out. But our guy didn't buy it. He pulled on his collar, and a knife pressed right up to his neck. He told him to shut up and warned that if he made a sound, he'd kill him. That was not an empty threat. Chang Di's thoughts were running wild. He was terrified, thinking that our boy's eyes looked like he really would do it. He wondered how a student could have such a scary, murderous look, and what the hell he had been through in his life. Then, our MC got dead serious and told Chang Di to remember every single thing he was about to say. The alley was a total disaster zone, bodies everywhere, and he stood over Chang Di, looking like he ruled the place. He told the thugs he didn't care what happened to them. They could rot for all he cared, but they'd better never bother him again. And if they even thought about showing their faces in front of his sister, well, he promised he'd make every single one of them disappear. No hesitation. He made sure they got the message, especially the leader, who was full-on crying at this point, nodding as fast and as hard as he could. Meanwhile, the song still played in his sister's head. Make sure she doesn't know what just happened. Yuni walked away from the alley, still wearing her earbuds, totally clueless about the beatdown that just went down behind her. The music she listened to was pretty sad, and it made her cry. She wondered why the song made his brother feel so lonely. Even though she had just seen her brother, she felt like he had changed a lot, as he had been through way too much. Meanwhile, it had only been a few days since they had seen each other. She finally looked back and complained, half joking, that he was taking this whole thing too far, and reminded him that she was always by his side. But then, out of nowhere, our MC showed up again, looking totally calm and normal. He suddenly gave his sister a red gift box. When she opened it, there was a glowing golden pen inside, a magic holographic pen, the latest model, super expensive. Yuni freaked out, asking where he even got the money for something like that, because it cost over 10 grand. He just smiled at her, while his sister started to worry, thinking maybe he should just return it since it was way too much. Anyway, our hero was still bleeding a bit from his knuckles. He hid the one that bleeding behind his body, but he looked super determined. In his head, he promised that this time, he would protect everything about his sister, since last time around, he couldn't even protect her dreams. Back in the alley, Chang Di and his goons were still lying on the ground, totally wrecked. He could barely talk, just mumbling for an ambulance. Bro, that was rough. Then the story jumped to Yuni playing with the new pen in their apartment. She was so happy, drawing glowing pink fish in the air with the magic pen. Si Chen just sat at the table, eating noodles, looking way more relaxed. He said that as long as she liked the present, he was happy, and he even complimented her cooking. But, of course, she got worried again. She reminded him they still had to pay the rent and accused him of throwing money away. Our boy acted all confident and told her he already paid their rent for the whole year. That totally shocked her. He tried to explain that he had made some money with a friend in a small business. She just wasn't buying it, she said. He was a terrible liar, and now he was being suspicious and keeping secrets. Even so, seeing her brother smile like that made her feel good. She thought to herself that it had been a really long time since she'd seen such a happy smile on his face. She told him, whatever happens, not to push himself too hard. Si Chen just gave her a gentle nod, looking truly peaceful for once. Meanwhile, in another place, at the university office, this guy, Gong Ting, stood in front of a huge aquarium. talking about the condition of Chang Di. He was in really bad shape. Over 60% of his bones were broken, and even the best doctors couldn't heal him in a month. He was shocked that that guy picked a fight with Si Chen. Ling Yu, a girl in the room, didn't care at all. Said Chang Di would probably miss the graduation exam. Then Gong Ting said her team would be better off without weaklings. Another dude, Gong Xuan, he is the National Awakener University Director of Career Services, walked in and reported that Si Chen was actually C rank, way stronger than he seemed, and the only one higher ranked than Gong Ting. The guy didn't look happy about that. Now, the director guy added that his father has invited the vice chairman of the alliance, this time, to personally inspect his performance at the graduation examination. He reminded Gong Ting to maintain his rank and be invincible. He also said that if everything else failed, he could only AC his niece. To fill the vacancy left in Gong Ting's team, he imagined that if it really happened, it would be very bad. But his words were cut off Gong Ting, his niece. He said that his uncle was too overthinking. He tried to act all cool, and said he hadn't even used his full power yet. He promised that during the combat test, he'd show everyone who was the strongest. Later, it showed our MC back in his dorm, taking a shower after a crazy day. He thought about how he'd finished a 100-kilometer run with weights, which was just insane. And now that he had money, everything was set. His plan was to win the million-yuan prize at the graduation exam, pay back his loan from Qingzhi, and go for even bigger things in the future. He also started talking about his powers. Then, he turned on the glutton system, which then took him to enter the Tower of Gluttony, a massive, creepy red tower in the distance. He stepped into the tower, thinking about the last assessment result showed, and his weakest class, Gravehound King, was ranked C, but his strongest class, Abyssal Fiend, was so powerful that the system couldn't even measure the potential. He had a couple of other strong classes too, but their real power was a mystery. Anyway, now, the real hype started. Our boy pulled out this crazy SSS rank Time Rift key, glowing like a treasure. He decided to put it to the test today. He activated the key and opened up a swirling portal, wondering what was waiting for him inside the Tower of Darkness. The last thing we saw, our MC stepped through the portal, looked around, and was totally surprised by what he saw. Suddenly, he landed in some wild place called the Fallen Star Wastes, which basically looked like outer space. Had a meltdown. Stars, nebulae, all that cosmic stuff, everywhere. But he barely had time to check out the view before he realized, oh crap, the gravity here was out of this world, like 10 times heavier than normal. Our boy could barely even stand up, and he already felt like someone dropped a truck on him. He started freaking out in his head, thinking that gravity was insane, and wondering why the door he came in through had disappeared. He figured out he had to smack down the boss of this floor if he wanted out. But, bro, with this environment, he guessed he could only use 30% of his normal strength. Tops. That was not good news. But you know Si Chen. He just gritted his teeth and told himself he'd have to get used to this place as fast as possible. Suddenly, out of the rocks, this giant purple lion monster showed up, glowing eyes, all ethereal and creepy. The system called it a Phantom Lion Bee Star Warrior. That was not the kind of boss you wanted to meet on a bad day. Right away, our MC's fancy digital powers started booting up. He held a yellow sword that was more like a thunderbolt, and the system said he was now a lightning assassin at level 10. He checked out his boosted stats. Dude was strong, fast, all that. But when he rushed in to hit the lion, he totally whiffed. The gravity had him moving like he was running through jello, and his attack just bounced off. He looked shocked, realizing his whole assassin style was basically useless here, since he couldn't move fast, and the lion was doing just fine, darting around like it was nothing. The high gravity has severely impacted his speed and attack precision. Well, it seems the assassin class has lost almost all its advantage. Then, he realizes that the monster is moving with ease. Our boy started thinking, what the hell kind of monster was this? Just chilling in the tower's purgatory level? Well, when one trick doesn't work, it's time to try another. Si Chen swapped his class to Purgatory Rakshasa, a much scarier form, with horns, cosmic energy, and power stats through the roof. He reminded himself that different classes had different strengths, and for close-up fighting, he needed that crazy stamina and strength from his Rakshasa form. Now powered up with purple and pink energy, He smashed his fist down, stacking the gravity higher and higher. 200%, 400%, 600%. He roared that he was pushing the impact to the limit, and since gravity was already nuts, his punch would hit 60 times harder than usual. The Phantom Lion didn't see it coming, got totally wrecked in a huge explosion of energy. After that, the monster was vanished, leaving only his heart on the ground. Meanwhile, our boy. He fell on his back, his breath short. The system pinged that he got a Phantom Lion bone and a ton of experience points. Level up, baby! He was still motionless from his place, still catching his breath, and thought about how each star on his class card boosted his stats. So, the more stars, the stronger he got after each class change. He realized his Purgatory Rakshasa had way more stars than the Lightning Assassin, making him way stronger overall. But he also noticed something weird. Even after all that, beating a B-rank monster took everything he had, and none of his classes had broken past the B-rank limit yet. Something was off. After killing the lion, the system didn't give him the usual devourable mark, and the gate to the next floor wasn't showing up. Then, he stood, staring out into the endless stars, when he suddenly spotted a swirling black void in the distance. Glowing white eyes began to appear inside, and dread hit him. He realized, holy crap, the real boss, the Lord, hadn't even shown up yet. The monster he just nearly died fighting was only the appetizer. That's when he remembered the Purgatory Rakshasa's words. Once the door opens, all that's waiting is endless pain, and he'd have to survive and conquer everything inside. Right then, a bunch of monsters came out of the portal, lunging mercilessly at him. Monstrous faces, glowing with evil energy, roaring as if to eat the whole world. Suddenly, Si Chen jerked awake in his dorm bed, heart pounding, covered in sweat. He was still shaken, clutching his chest and gasping for breath. The pain he felt in the dream, tearing muscles, skin peeling from bone, felt realer than real. But he knew what it meant. If he wanted to get stronger, there were no shortcuts. The road ahead was lonely, hard, and it had only just started. Next thing, it was a new day at National Awakener University, and everyone was packed into the grand auditorium for graduation team selection. The big bosses were even coming to watch this year, so things were tense. Some students were gossiping about the new rules. Now, every team needed at least 5 people, and at least one had to be high E rank, or above. That was a big change from the old days, and lots of folks were confused. Gong Xuan, one of the school's top guys, got up to explain. He announced that everyone's rank was now updated on their wristbands, and told them to hurry up and form their teams. The students all started checking, and right away, things got spicy. Just right then, one of Si Chen's roommates, Ma Long, lost his mind when he saw our boy was listed as a low E rank. He pointed at him and demanded how that was even possible, since everyone had thought Si Chen was at least C rank before. The other students started whispering, saying maybe Si Chen's demon heart was really broken, and they'd just imagined he was strong. Suddenly, people who wanted to team up with Si Chen were suddenly disappointed, because who wanted a so-called deadweight dragging them down during the graduation assessment? Our MC just looked at his own wristband and smirked to himself. He figured now, for sure, no one would want to team up, which actually worked out great for him. Other students laughed, saying he must regret turning down Gong Ting's offer to join his team. Gong Ting, the son of a family of school officials, sitting in the front, just sat there, silent and intense, while his uncle Gong Xuan watched the students with a stern look. In his head, that old guy called his nephew a disappointment and wondered when Gong Ting would finally learn to use power and people to his advantage. He promised he'd teach the kid a lesson, making sure none of his opponents even had the chance to compete. The big team selection event kicked off, and bro, it was chaos. Everyone was crowding around Gong Ting, the class president, yelling his name like he was some kind of rock star. People were begging him to take them on his team. Some even said they'd be his dog, which, dude, kind of embarrassing. Some said their healer class would be a great help to the team. Another people that has been in team had enough, and told the whole crowd they were too loud and to get lost, saying he could only add one more person anyway. The guy looked super annoyed, but hey, that's what happens when you're Mr. Popular. Half an hour later, most teams were already set, glowing green hands in the air, friendly greetings flying around. But not everyone was happy. Si Chen's roommates looked like they'd just lost the lottery. Ma Long complained that they'd asked around a ton, but nobody wanted to join them. Xiang Yuo added that their group was stuck at 4 people. And now, what? They might not even get to participate in graduation? Talk about rough. Meanwhile, Ma Long was scratching his head, saying it was way too weird that Si Chen's rank suddenly dropped so low. Our hero just stared at his data screen, eyes all intense, thinking about the rules. Minimum 5 people, at least 1 high E rank. It was obvious something smelled fishy. Ma Long started grumbling that it felt like their dorm was being targeted on purpose. Our MC was not happy. Dude realized that the graduation combat assessment was the only chance for everyone to prove themselves. If you didn't get a high score, your future was basically toast. Good jobs, fame, all that, gone. The system showed that the more teammates your group had, the more monsters you'd have to fight in the Devil's Cave. So having lots of people didn't always make things easier. But because nobody wanted to risk teaming up with some so-called low E rank trash, groups like our boys' team were totally ignored. In the final assessment, the number of monsters in the Devil's Cave will be determined by the number of team members. It's not that the more people you have, the easier it is to get a high score. So, even if they can't squeeze into a strong team like Gongting's, no one is willing to group up with low-ranked people. Want to know how bad it was? The 3 lowest low E ranks in the entire school were all from Si Chen's dorm: Ma Long, Xiang Yu, and of course, our boy. Basically the underdog squad of the year. Then it got worse. Another student called out to Xiang Zuo, saying his own team just needed 1 more person, and that it would be stupid to stick with those 3 losers from his dorm. If he ditched his friends, he could actually have a shot at taking the assessment. But Si Chen wasn't stupid. He could see where this was going. His group was about to get left behind, abandoned by everyone, and lose their shot completely. That would have sucked. Big time. But then, plot twist. Xiang Zuo looked all guilty. But when push came to shove, he stood up and told everyone he wouldn't abandon his roommates. Because they all agreed long ago to team up together. Bro, loyalty like that is rare. The other team just mocked him, saying he was an idiot for turning them down. But Xiang Zuo shot back, telling them not to look down on people. Respect. Still, Ma Long was sweating buckets, staring at the screen. Teams were filling up fast, and there were barely any E ranks left to recruit. It looked like our MC's group was stuck, 1 person short, with no hope. But that's when the shady grown-ups showed up. Gong Xuan, director of the employment office, and, yeah, same family as Gongting, was lurking behind our hero, glasses on, looking all mysterious. Si Chen had him figured out. He knew the guy had tweaked the rules and changed his real rank just to keep people from teaming up with him. What? Was he? That scared our MC would take down his niece? The world was full of people like that, pulling strings, thinking they could do whatever they wanted. But he wasn't about to roll over. He would definitely participating in this graduation assessment. His body started crackling with yellow lightning, and his system flashed that he was switching class. Our MC had made his choice. If people wanted to play dirty, he could too. There were more ways to prove strength than by following their dumb rules. Suddenly, students everywhere started whispering. Si Chen walked right through the classroom, lightning popping off him, making everyone stare. Some guessed he was about to do something crazy. See, at Awakener schools, there was always a tradition. You could challenge anyone to a 1 versus 1 fight, anytime, anywhere. It was risky and made you look cocky, but it was the fastest way to show off your true power. And Gongting? No way. That prideful guy would ever back down from a challenge. Then he smirked. If he could beat that fucking guy, everyone would want him on their team. But before he could make his move, someone unexpected showed up. There is Ling Yu, all stylish and confident, strolled in and called out to our hero, asking if his team still needed people. She said she wanted to join the graduation assessment too, and let everyone know she'd hit D rank back in middle school, so she definitely wouldn't drag the team down. Instant fan club explosion. Students practically lost their minds, whispering about how awesome she was and why she'd want anything to do with Si Chen. Gong Xuan? The dude was fuming. He started yelling at his cousin, totally losing his cool. Even his niece, lurking with his purple aura, looked annoyed. But then, things got spicy. Gong Xuan tried to block Ling Yu, saying as an exchange student, she wasn't allowed to compete and that she'd never even taken a rank test. He claimed her joining was against school rules. The crowd started to back him up, until the big boss showed up. But, boom, Principal Yuan Long just appeared out of nowhere, purple energy swirling, staring right at Ling Yu. Even our boy was confused, wondering how the old guy was teleporting around like that, since he remembered the principal's class was supposed to be warrior, not some teleportation wizard. Then, Yuan Long said that if Ling Yu joined, it might mess with the fairness of the test, but she just shrugged, acting like it was no big deal. Si Chen tried to analyze their ranks, but they both glitched out. He couldn't read them at all. That was way above his pay grade. No. You can see that Gong Xuan sweated hard, realizing the principal might know he'd rigged the system. He tried to play innocent, but you could tell he was nervous. In his head, he already planned another thing. Screw it. He wasn't going to fight the old man over this. He told Gong Ting that he'd done all he could, cleared all the high ranks out, so Gong Ting's team would have an easy win over the loser trio. But surprise! Principal Yuan Long clapped his hands and changed the rules. He said teams with fewer than 5 people, or without a high E rank, could still sign up. Boom! The gates were open for everyone. Our poor guy and his friends couldn't believe it. They stacked their hands together, got the team formed notice, and finally, it was official. Ma Long cheered that they could finally take part, and everyone agreed that Si Chen should be the captain. Big win for the underdogs, bro. Meanwhile, Principal Yuan Long, sitting with Ling Yu, and said that her interest at Si Chen was way stronger than he expected. He seemed pretty curious about how these losers would do against the school's strongest team. Now, teams were locked in, and faculty told the captains to pick their Devil's Cave. Before anyone else could even blink, Si Chen walked right up and submitted his team's choice. Everyone freaked out, even the teacher. People screamed, "What did Si Chen just pick? Was he out of his mind?" His roommates were losing it, begging him to take back the decision, calling him crazy, even calling him an ancestor. But our hero just stood there, eyes glowing bright red, looking like he was ready to take on the whole damn world.